So we're going over why you're stuck under $5,000 of sales per month. I'm giving essentially a roadmap to more than $50,000 of sales per month. And this is a call in my community, or the highlights of it. It happens one time per week. If you want to be a part of it, it's free. The link is in the description. Well, let's get right into the video. Going on Amazon is a lot like growing like the gym. It takes months to see results. And you've seen those people, or you've done it yourself when you've gone through a transformation at the gym, that the first 3 to 6 months, you're not seeing any dramatic results. And like the thing is all the things that you learn on the way to like getting those transformative results is what's actually important. And like it parallels exactly with Amazon, guys. Like it's a beautiful metaphor and all that, but like seriously, it's that. And there's so much to learn, like I said, on the way to your success. But like, look how many things like I just wrote down in like 30 seconds. And there's a lot more. Is like, you need to essentially become an accountant. Like, yes, I have my accountant that I pay a ton of money and all that, but at the end of the day, I need to understand all my numbers, right? So like, if you're going to sell $1 million a year and you don't know how to read a balance sheet, you might not make it. So before wanting to become $1 million seller, like, hey, why don't we take our time? Why don't we learn? And like, slowly you're going to learn small accounting and you're going to scale sustainably and you're going to understand everything along the way. And that goes the same thing with like inventory management. Because at the beginning, you're not probably allocating that much money to the Amazon business, right? And not that much money, could be a few $1,000s, because the reality of it is like, the big boys are spending tens of thousands of dollars on inventory every month. So for you, a mistake, or like scared of purchasing a lot, because like a mistake could be two ends, right? A mistake could be not purchasing too much, but also not purchasing enough, because you might have found something on sale that, I don't know, you thought were only going to sell 10 times, but they all sold in the first like 4 days. So much to learn in inventory management. That's like a whole live stream in and of itself. And that's just part of it, right? And then there's repricing. Yes, repricing is somewhat automated, and there's tools like Be Cool or Seller Snap, all these things that do it for you. But the art of repricing goes a long way more than that, right? When do you liquidate products? You are going to buy products that tank. Like, I buy products that tank, like that become not profitable anymore, or almost like 0%. Like, what do you do in that case? How much are you waiting, right? That ties in a little bit to inventory management of when's time to like get rid of products so we can get money back to buy more things. I'm doing a very brief mentioning of all these things so you can understand what it takes to become like a big successful seller. And then like, after repricing and inventory management, it's like cash flow. At the end of the day, unless you're willing to spend an unlimited amount of money on this Amazon business, and when I say unlimited amount, I mean upwards to $100,000, that's probably not the truth. Like, you're probably going to end up putting $5,000, $10,000, maybe 15, 20 if you're really up for it. And now you got to learn on how to optimally purchase inventory, learning how to use cash flow, and like understanding like, okay, what's my estimated payout every 2 weeks with Amazon? And that's how much I can purchase. And that's actually how much I need to purchase. And I know, I'm aware of the concept. You guys are gated on a lot of products, but it comes back down to putting in the hours, sourcing more, getting ungated products. And the reality of it is, once you start getting sales too, your account kind of gets seasoned, and you're going to be automatically ungated in more products. And that just creates, again, this big snowball. So instead of like rushing through it, why don't we let the snowball work? And at the same time, it creates a natural moat. Right? If you guys don't, like a moat, like back in the castle times, the water that surrounded a castle, right? It's like a natural defense. Well, the fact that it's going to take time for you to get naturally ungated, and the only way to succeed here is to go after specific like products that are already ungated, that's like it's a harder route. So if it's a harder route, like, it makes it easier to succeed if you keep at it. Right? All it takes is like a year and a half, 2 years to really make it. But like, that's another thing to show up every single day. I've heard the more you sell, the more ASINs get ungated naturally. 100%. Me and one of my mentor, right? I made a video about him. We always say like, it's the first 10,000 in sales. When I was like first moved to selling in the United States, I don't sell them anymore. When I first moved there, I was gated in a ton of products, and like, I just source, because like I was used to it, right? I sold in Canada, and I source, and I sold my first 10,000, 15,000, and stuff got ungated, and I just naturally scaled from there, and the rest was history. It's about just putting in the time and the hours. So credit can go in two ways. It could be, let me actually draw onto this here. It can be either line of credit, which is, I love this tactic, but we're not going to really, I'm going crazy here. We're not going to go crazy with the line of credit. But then there's credit card, right? That's the classic. This is what you kind of need and what I suggest just to help you with cash flow, right? Because the credit card is going to help you dramatically with cash flow, because you're going to need to understand something. And I have a video on debt if you really want to learn about it. For a credit card, you usually have something like 30 days of interest free. So if you buy it at the beginning of your cycle, let's say your cycle is from literally November 1st to November 30th. And then the other one is the 15th to the 15th, right, of every month, right? So you start purchasing here on credit card one. Let's do 1 and 2 here. So on credit card one, you purchase from the 1st to the 15th. All right. You purchase on this credit card. Right. And then from the 15th to the 30th, you're buying on the credit card two. And then we're starting over the next month and you're buying on credit card one and then credit card two. Because what happens is from the 1st to the 30th, and then you have 14 days to pay this credit card. So it becomes like you're purchasing here from the 1st to the 15th. You don't need to pay any money all the way to the 14th of the next month. And then again, you're not like spending any money in all this gap. So your total is not going to be that much. And you're offsetting that, spending it on the second credit card, right? Where you're spending from the 15th all the way to the 30th. But this is only due, right, all the way on the next 40 days. So it's like, and these statement dates like are not the perfect. They're never going to be 1 and 30 and 15 and 15. I have a YouTube video on this, but it's really, really interesting on all the things you can do with credit. Okay, I went down a rabbit hole there. The trap, right? The famous trap, in my opinion. And we've already talked about this, so it's no spoiler. Instead of learning the other skills, and the other skills is these skills, and slowly buying and slowly scaling, we waste our time on ungating. And instead of that, like, let's focus on the variable you can control, which is how many hours you spend sourcing. And like I said before, let's try 10 hours a week. So that means 2 hours per night or 3 hours per night. Get to the number. Like, I obsessed when I started selling on Amazon. And if you want to get better quick, put in the time. So whether that's on the weekends or whatever, you need to spend hours sourcing, not watching videos like me. Like, I'll gladly take your hours of watch time, but like, go out and source. Like, that's going to get you better. If you want to try the ungate route, that's okay, but be effective with your system. Like I'm not a pro at this because I don't spend hours trying to ungate. I do things, I spend my time, in my opinion, a little bit more better routes, right? Which is sourcing, but not only sourcing products, okay? And this is where I'm going to bring like my unique angle, which I'm trying to take on YouTube with Canada, and which I don't think a lot of other people talk about as much. They might talk about it, but not as much, is sourcing seller IDs, guys. I have a video dropping tomorrow also talking a little bit about that and like having like my database and how it kind of looks like. But like, you can do that in Google Sheets, you can do this in Notion, but like, gather a list, and I mean a list, like 2, 3, 4, 500 seller IDs, and have their like the seller ID. And you're going to see in my video tomorrow, but you're going to have like the seller ID, the storefront name, which is storefront name they can change, but they can change their seller ID. So you have the storefront name, you have how many ratings they have, which that you can update. And then you can have like what's their main category and the last time you sourced that storefront, like actively change that, because you don't want to be looking at a storefront every single day. You want to give them time to bring in new products. I've said it in other videos, for you guys that are smaller sellers, focus on other smaller sellers because they're selling things that you're probably ungated in, right? Because other smaller sellers are also gated in a bunch of products. So using that, but again, seller IDs, the more time you do this, the easier it's going to be later. I promise. Hey, Kyle said that's how he found the 10 ASINs. Love to hear that, right? Like, doing this is what's going to make you succeed in the long term. Like, then spend more time sourcing. The other ways of sourcing, right? Keep a product finder. We have the storefront way, right? I've done it with you guys on YouTube videos where we go in and we just go after storefronts using Keepa product finder, and we put in filters to try to get the best products. And we could do brand diving, right? Where we actually like we're manual sourcing, or we come across a brand that we're ungated in and that we found one ungated product. Well, now we're able to use Keepa product finder to find every single product on Amazon with that brand name, right? That's just using Keepa product finder. Once you put in your 100 hours, right? Takes you 3 months, not even 2.5 months of actual sourcing though. But once you do that, how much money are you willing to invest to serially grow? Because this is the next step, right? I talked about it with the debt. And if you want unrealistic expectations without like understanding what goes with it, that's like the way you're gonna fail at Amazon. Is if you want to make, let's call it 50,000 in sales this year, 50K in a month, right? And you want to do it sustainably. Well, we often say, I don't know if you've heard about it, but cost of goods sold is usually, all right, let's write this down, right? Cost of goods sold is usually around 50%. Okay. You typically want it to be lower than 50%. You like the best people, I would say, find it between 46 to 48%. It's hard to get a little bit lower because don't forget, like Amazon's going to take 30% if you're doing FBA. So cost of goods sold, let's just use it easy, is around 50%. You don't want it higher. And that means you're going to need 25,000, okay, sold in the month of dollars, right? If this wasn't clear, right? This dude's, you want to do this per month, right? Well, you need to sell 25K to get 50K in revenue. And for you to do 25K sold, well, do you think you're selling 100% of what you're spending in the month prior? But let's call it 75% and it can climb up. You're going to sell 75% of what you spend. I want to be even more conservative to be like ultra realistic with you guys, okay? Let's say you sell 60% of what you purchased in the month prior. And now we need to sell 25K. That means, oh man, I hate public math. But that means if we do 25,000, right? And we do, is it divided by 0.6? That, yeah, yes, sir, it is public math. That means we need to spend around 42K in the month. Okay. And again, we're being ultra conservative because you're probably going to get this number up to 75 or around better, but we're being conservative. You need to sell 60% to actually sell the next month 25K to then make 50K. Right. So how are you going to get this 42K? Are you going to invest it yourself? Now there's ways to do this. If you're going to be here in the long term with Amazon, right, you can start with something like, let's call it 15 to 20K, like being serious, right? And to get here, there's, let's say you don't have the money and you really want to sell on Amazon. Like, guys, come on, put like 5K at least, like try, like save up for it. And once you put 5K, it's the same thing that we're going to do here. We're going to reinvest into the business. So all the profit that we're going to make, we need to reinvest. We're not going to take $1 for ourselves. And then hopefully we're making money with our 9 to 5, right? And our 9 to 5 could be useful, and that can also contribute to here. So then ultimately this becomes 15 to 20K after like a year. And that 15 to 20K, we do the same method. If we're still at our 9 to 5, we are going to pump in money to this pool. Now it's going to start contributing a little bit less than here. This is like a lot bigger in my opinion at this stage. If you only have 5K, your 9 to 5 needs to be putting money in. But at this stage, I would say it's more about the reinvesting phase, which is going to help you get, if you don't want to take on debt and go like 100% the clean route, is you need to consistently reinvest profits, right? Because let's say now, out of this 15 to 20K that you have, you're able to do 30%, right? So we're out here with 20K. I just noticed you guys can't see my calculator. I have a calculator here, so I wasn't a genius before. 20K, right? And we're able to make 30% on that. That's 6K profit, right? Whether we make that in 1 month or 2 months, we're able to deploy 20K, right? And then once everything is sold and we're doing 30%, we're able to add it, right? And now we're at 26K. Now, obviously there's expenses that go with that, but this is how we grow, right? Month over month compounding or quarter over quarter. And we grow to the point where we're now able to get 45 to 50K. But all this is if everything is like perfect,